Just no matter where you are, no matter what civilization you look at, no matter what time frame you look at, they are always looking at the stars as a reference, looking up to the heavens, or literally to find actual things like land masses, etc. So the stars go way beyond any of our measure, even astrology.
Welcome to the Outerknown, a podcast that shines a light on the outer edges of inner knowing. Hi, Lane.
Hey, Jackie.
I can't believe 2022 is done.
I know, right? We're sitting here at the very end of the year, recording our very first episode of season 3. It's been a long time coming, which we'll address in a bonus episode coming to you very soon. I'm so excited to be back.
Same. And this guest is so spectacular. I don't know about you, but I love the end of the year because it gives me time to think about what did I actually do this year and how I can really build my next year and dreaming about what I want it to be. And I love that this interview is right on time.
I'm so excited to share more about Chad the Maverick with the world. I got a reading with him recently and he's super talented.
Mm-hmm. He gets into a lot of things that I think, at least for me being a baby astrologer or person in the astrology world, things that I haven't really delved a lot into. So I was really excited for him to talk about certain transits and planet placements and things like that for the upcoming year and just things to sort of keep an eye on. So that was super, super fun.
I know. He's shared so many really interesting perspectives and highlights. And just a little plug for our listeners as well. Chad has been putting together an ebook for the astrology of 2023. So if you like what you hear in this interview, and I'm sure you will, we'll include more info on how to find Chad and his work at the end of this episode and in our show notes.
So let's get to our interview with Chad. Chad, welcome to the Outerknown.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We are so excited to chat with you. Lane and I are big astrology geeks. Lane probably more so than me. I'm like a baby astrology geek, but we love having astrologers on the podcast because we know astrology has so many different flavors and
For sure.
We love hearing about people's different areas of expertise. So
Right.
We are definitely thrilled to kick off this season with you.
Ooh, I start the season off. I didn't know that. Let's go.
Well, tell us a little bit more about yourself first. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up on the East Coast, Northeast New England. I'm from Connecticut originally. I ended up going to school out in the Boston area for the most part. So that's basically the tri-state area that I was mostly around growing up. It is cold. There's not much to do. It's pretty in the fall. And after the fall, leave. Just go, go anywhere else. Now, granted, I know there's there are the good parts and stuff like that, but just growing up there, I have a different type of scope on certain things. But I ended up growing up there, which ironically, because there wasn't much to do, gave me a lot of time to dial in and really learn about astrology and learn about all the stuff that I like. So I kind of just let myself be a nerd. Just let myself be here's the stuff that I like. Here are the things that I'm into, and I'm going to like them whether one person says something about it, another person says something about it. I'm still going to do it regardless. So I definitely think astrology is part of that. But yeah, I grew up in the wee cold of the Northeast.
Being from New Jersey, those winters are brutal.
Brutal.
How did you come to astrology?
My introduction to astrology, one of the first memories that I have is there was a book in my house. And in the book, it was called The Secret Languages of Birthday. I guess someone gifted it to someone in my family, whatever the case may be. But I remember I was told I got in trouble for something. And my parents were pissed. And they were like, hey, go dust off the bookshelf, go clean this. So I'm going over there and I'm dusting it off. And this big book is just there. And I'm just like, what is this? There's a Secret Language of Birthdays. It's a huge book. Can't remember the name of the author, but I always recommend it to people. So I looked up my birthday and I read it and I was like, why do they know me? I don't. This is a book. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, why is this so specific? I'm like, it's just a birthday. What is going on? And I think that's one of the most first times I saw it. Then I started doing research on it. But at the time, and I tell you this just because I find it so interesting, you couldn't find any information about any other astrological sign except for like Leo, Scorpio, and I think Gemini. Like that's it. Those were the only like 3 signs that people talked about that were often like in anything that was like any publication that was at the time. It was pretty like dull, honestly. If you wanted to learn for real, you had to go to the Barnes and Noble, which I lived in for a long time. Literally just finding articles was almost impossible. There were some things, of course, but there was nothing in depth. It was like, oh, I'm a Sagittarius. That means I like to have fun. It's like, oh, now I know why nobody believes this. It's because people are just like, yeah, you like to have fun. Like, well, doesn't everyone like to have fun? Like the book opened my eyes to seeing that every person had that much depth. And then I was not even aware that each planet did something. I didn't know sun, moon from rising. I didn't know none of that. It was just birthday. And that alone got me into like being like, okay, like there's something past this. There's definitely something more than this. And then I tried to debunk it for years. And then it ended up being like, okay, no, you're an astrologer, bro. So yeah,
awesome.
that's the story of that.
So are you largely self-taught? Did you end up finding any like mentors or people that you learned from?
So I would definitely say that I'm self-taught at the end of the day. I have had people that are like teachers and mentors, but honestly, which is kind of cool to even think about. Most of the teachers and mentors that I have are like comrades. Like I could text them right now.
Yeah.
And they'll answer me at some point in the day or two and be like, oh, what's good? And I just think that's super cool. One of the most important ones was I'll give a shout out to those the Peace Dealer. I remember in college I was watching his videos just like in my dorm, and like I would just see what was going on and then watch it happen. Like I would like he would say something.
Wow.
And I would go outside of like the cafeteria, and I made sure my friend was with me, who was like he believed in it, but he doesn't know any details, right? So when I started seeing stuff that he watched in the same video, he was like, okay, this is weird. I'm like, I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I definitely want to give him his credit though. Just talked to him the other day. He definitely was like one of the people that I saw on a daily basis be correct. And I was like, I need to be that level of efficient if I'm explaining this stuff. So I would more so say like I watched him do stuff. Definitely watched a lot of the Divine Venus is her name now. Lisha Sharp. I came up watching her for a long time. Used to watch KRS channel, who technically does Vedic astrology, which I don't do, but I did learn a lot from just watching just a general principle. Like these are the OGs. This is like what I was coming up looking at, you know? So that's just a couple of names that I can name off immediately that I think of when I think of like early days.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what forms of astrology do you practice?
That's actually a good question. I'm a tropical astrologer at the end of the day. So I use tropical astrology. We just had the fall or autumn equinox, and that is a day where it's equal sun, both hemispheres, and tropical astrology is basically using the hemispheres in that amount of time frame in order for us to read the signs and where they are. Signs are not the constellations in tropical astrology. I just learned tropical. I think it makes sense more for our culture as well. So if I grew up on the East and I was from, let's say, Eurasia or anything else like that, I would honestly look more towards, would specifically work with that region, because there's certain things culturally that I feel like don't translate. You know what I mean? Like, or they will translate for someone from the East if they were in this area. But because people are over there, I'm just using the East world for this, right? They have a different set of culture. They have a different set of deities. They have a different set of this, but they all follow the stars. No matter where you are, no matter what civilization you look at, no matter what time frame you look at, they are always looking at the stars as a reference, looking up to the heavens, or literally to find actual things like land masses, etc. So the stars go way beyond any of our measure. Even astrology, it goes beyond astrology. That's just our reference of what the stars are doing. You know what I mean? So it gets deep. It definitely gets deep.
And do you do birth charts or predictive work?
Yeah, so I love birth chart readings. That is probably like my favorite thing to do, because I have people that I did readings for maybe like 3 years ago, back when I was like, yeah, like I'm pretty good. I think I'm okay. And they'll hit me up, or they'll just like message me out of nowhere and be like, yo, remember when you did that reading for me 3 years ago? I ain't have no hair. I ain't have like this is a different, almost a different person. Like I feel like I was, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I was just on like Twitter asking random people just like, hey, what do you like about astrology? What you like about this? And like being able to like, just do readings for people was cool. But just the fact that people hit me up now, it's been like so long. And they're like, this is relevant to me today. They're like, you
Wow.
made a prediction about that 3 years ago. And you said in 3 years, and it's happening now. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's dope. Because
Yeah.
it really is beyond just like the regular science or just the signs or like, oh, Aquarians are like this, haha. Like it's really like everything in between. So I love doing birth charts for people. I'll do tarot as well. Tarot card readings are easier access of divination towards people who don't necessarily know everything about astrology or tarot or spirituality. It's a little bit more direct, it's a little more blunt. I don't have to necessarily like explain every modicum of like every tarot card because people don't care. They want to know why that
Mhm.
card got pulled, right? So that's definitely fun as well. Did classes for a really long time, especially during the pandemic. I put those on pause because life had a lot of like just moving parts. One thing about at least my journey is that like understanding when I have to live life and exist and when I'm willing and able, wanted to make sure that I was in the right space for that.
Well, I know we're about to get into the astrology of 2023. Big
Dun, dun,
big topic.
dun.
I feel like we should start with your sun moon rising if you're willing to share. I'm curious.
I'll never tell anyone my sun, moon, or
You're
rising.
never
I'm
gonna tell?
joking.
You already
Oh.
told us you're a Sagittarius, so.
Yes, it does. I'm a Sagittarius sun, moon, and an Aries rising.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, triple fire. Okay.
Triple fire sign. Yes, I have. No one ever guesses that ever. I love it. It's great.
I would not have guessed that at all.
Exactly. I love it. It's so fun. What are y'all? Out of curiosity.
Well, we're both Pisces suns.
Hey, the Outerknown.
Lane's an early Pisces. I'm a late Pisces. Well, you're a mid Pisces, I guess. I'm a Virgo rising and Aries moon.
Dope.
I'm a Libra rising and Virgo moon.
Dope.
Yeah.
So you were born on a full moon. Lane was born on a full moon. Got you. But so that Pisces Virgo is what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is as an astrologer. This is how my brain works. I'm like, okay,
I love it.
All right, we put it together. All right,
I love it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Real time astrology.
I love it. Yeah. My sun and rising are at constant odds with each other because they're kind of like polar opposite.
Respectfully, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, so again, this is a big subject, 2022 versus 2023. If you had like a word or a theme to describe kind of the difference between this year and next year, how would you compare them?
I feel like 2022 in total and just all in all, this is the collective's first year back out since that shutdown happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is our first year stepping foot on the ground, figuring life out again. And we have difficult transits. 2022, I feel like, was such a loading ground, and it has been such a loading ground. And I think 2023 is like the actual mastery time frame of that, right? But one of the most important parts is that Saturn's going into Pisces. So, which I'll get deeper in later, but Saturn going into Pisces, Saturn's been in Aquarius for a grip. So the limitations on the people, the public, the limitations online. Like, I'm pretty sure my Instagram's still shadow banned from that time frame where everything was shut down because I was just posting information that like I just saw. But during that time frame, they definitely flagged me because they were like, oh, this is whatever. I'm like, but they actively went towards a lot of spiritualists and they just went crazy with that. But once more, Saturn has been in Aquarius. So Saturn, restriction, Aquarius, the people, the public. I akin Aquarius to the internet. I 100% like Aquarius, you're in the internet. Because we're able to talk right now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where y'all was living before we started having a conversation, right? Or even the people listening to this podcast, probably online, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea you're listening to all these things online is very Aquarius. It's like the conversation and communication, the air that they have to send through the ethers. With that being said, definitely think for 2023, the pressure is going to go off the collective and go more onto people's dreams and their projects that they want to do. I think the people that are choosing to work towards their dreams or work towards the things that they like actually care about are going to excel. Like, truthfully think that they're going to excel by the end of 2023. But Pluto's going to go into Aquarius too for 2023, right? And Pluto is going to almost like take all the restrictions that we felt from the collective, right? And then be like, no, you have to become better than that. So imagine just every kid that's ever picked on you in school at one time. And then you just have to look at them all in their faces and be like, no, you suck. And they're like, whoa, what's going on? Right? The kid stuck back up for himself. We're all done. We gotta go. Like, that's the energy that's kind of coming in.
Awesome.
This 2023 is like, hey, I built myself up. Back up off me. Here's this information. Here's the stuff that I'm great at. Anything else? Pay me. Thank you. Much love. Have a good one.
Nice.
That's kind of like my quick description. I think that 2023 could definitely bring it, though.
Yeah.
I was trying to be brief, but yes.
Looking at that, I mean, those are some big changes, but what are some of the best days to look out for?
Jupiter's going into Taurus. I'm actually excited for that. Jupiter's going into Taurus during May. So Jupiter, for those who don't know, is the planet of luck, abundance, etc. Jupiter going into Taurus. Taurus is luxury, wealth, food, all the good stuff that you're like, hey, when I grow up, I want to buy those things. Taurus, all of it. So, so the fact that Jupiter is going into Taurus, I definitely think that that's going to make for a different brand of abundance. This is like, honestly, it feels like your job screwed up and gave you an extra check that they weren't supposed to, but they can't take it back. Mind you, while Jupiter is going into Taurus, Uranus is going to be there as well. And I don't think they're going to conjunct for a while. But just the fact that both of those things are in that space, it really kind of shows that there's a real quick chance for things for people to change like financially pretty instantaneously. I really do think that 2023 will also be a year of like, not the entrepreneur, because I don't even think it's like, I don't want to say entrepreneur, but I definitely want to say it is the year of people monetizing what they already do. Like there's people that are on Twitch right now and have been on Twitch for the last 48 hours staring at their ceiling, and they could have made damn near up to like $30,000 for all we know, because people are like, yo, that's crazy you're doing that. And like the idea that people are able to do something like this now, you tell that to somebody from 30 years ago, they're going to drop. They're going to be like, are you serious? This drop. So it's definitely like a new wave. I definitely think Uranus being there is definitely going to make a brand new paradigm. Other good transits to watch out for. Another transit, which I wouldn't particularly just say is good, because I don't necessarily like to define transits about good or bad either, because there's a lot of nuance. Like, because I'm like, oh, new moon in Libra, you're manifesting this. That's in the wrong house for you. It might not be good. Like you're like, there's a lot of things, but at least on a general scale. We have the North Node in Taurus, which is going to be going back into Aries, right? The North Node moves backwards in comparison to everything else, all the other planets, right? Technically, it's always in a retrograding motion, except for when it's not, just random days in between. But for the most part, it is going in that backwards motion. So the North Node is the point of destiny. I love talking about the North Node. If there's anything I tell people about, even if they're like, I don't believe in astrology, I'm like, let me find your North Node. So you can at least know like your direction. North Node is your direction, what you're destined to do and what energies you're destined to like push at your best, right? So North Node for the collective is going into Aries, which means the South Node for the collective is going into Libra. July 12th of 2023. Mid 2023 and on is going to be about how real have you been to yourself throughout your life. Not even just like that little bit. Because I think people, even me, right? I'm someone who has a pretty good understanding of like who I am as a person. I learn new stuff about me like every other week, you know, where I'm like, oh wow, this developed because of this and blah, 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 blah. North Node in Aries is like, all right, this is all me. You know, like imagine everything that you like would like talk to your friends about, and maybe went to therapy for, anything along the lines of that, where it was like, oh, this is something, whatever the case is. Now imagine you having to just stand in front and be like, yep, that's that. Most people are going to shy away. Most people are going to be like, oh no, they see me now and want to go hide. Or hide behind other people specifically because of that transit. Because the South Node is going to be in Libra. That is the past life part of the zodiac, right? Libra is the sign of balance, the harmony, the people, the interaction of the people, the partnerships of the people. This is like someone being like, hey, everything's out here. Okay, cool. I'm in the front. But this is like Robin hiding behind Batman. Batman's like, Robin, you know how to fight. Like, what are you doing? Why are you hiding behind me? And he's just like, well, they said it, my name was Robin and I had weird shorts and they didn't like me. It's like, bro, you've literally totaled like every bad guy in Gotham damn near by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you hiding behind? Why are you hiding now? So I think that's definitely like one of those themes that kind of comes through where it's like North Node Aries, you gotta be yourself. And I think a lot of this cloud chase stuff, this everything else, within a year's time, Instagram, TikTok, everything changed entirely. Not even a little bit. They changed.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram changed the company. They're Meta now.
Yep.
Like there's a whole entire shift, and they know how fast everything's moving. So they're going to be moving as fast as that. So I think there's a lot of shifts that we don't even see yet. Because by the time Saturn hits into Pisces and Pluto gets into Aquarius, it's a different world. Like, we don't even know what that looks like yet. I think that's what's most important about like these transits is like technology between the people, how smart people are, and also how dumb people are and think they're smart, which is another part. Everyone wants to assume they're smart. I assume I'm smart, but like, you know, there's somebody that's like, oh, this dumbass, like, and it's also smart about what, right? And I think that's something that's important too, because there's people that are super book intelligent. You put them outside, they don't know how to cross the street, at all. I've seen people stare at rain outside. I'm in California, so it's funny. I've seen people like stare at a puddle of rain that they could have easily walked around, but because it was just in their way, they just stood there and was like, "What am I going to do?" It's like just walk around it. It's like, no, I can't. What am I going to do? It's like just walk around. You know what I mean? So people are at all levels, but meanwhile, that dude could be like a neuroscientist. Like, you know what? Like, that's one thing that's really important. I think coming in 2023, like, you don't know who people are. Like, you really don't know who people are. And I think something that at least has been raised and like instilled in me just in life was like, you don't know who people are. Like, you don't know what's going on. You don't know this. Like, always be respectful. Always make sure everything else is like that, because someone could be like the biggest loser in the world, but let's say I meet someone on the street and I'm rude for some reason. Just triple fire sign rude. I haven't been since I was like a kid, but still, just triple fire sign rude. Like, hey, I hate your shoes. And then they're there and they're just like, oh, you hate my shoes? Well, that sucks, because Nike literally was just asking me if they wanted to hire an astrologer. And I heard you're an astrologer, so no. Then I'll be like, I missed out on a Nike astrology opportunity because I didn't like your shoes. Man, that's crazy. But at the same time, you have to eat that L. So like things specifically with 2023 is like, okay, here's where you are. But if you try to do something disrespectful and get back on, you can't say nothing. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the point. Yeah. Like, that's why it's hard for me to say good and bad. It's because there's just so much.
Probably it's a lesson. And
exactly.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said about Jupiter in Taurus, because I mean, we also have Uranus in Taurus.
Yes.
Uranus has been wreaking all kinds of havoc there for quite a while now.
For sure.
So for listeners who aren't astrology nerds, it's like Uranus is pure chaos a lot of the time, and Taurus is like material goods and food, and like here we are with all these like supply chain issues, right? And like we're feeling that hard. And we have been for some time.
Yep.
And here's, Big Daddy Jupiter coming in. And I'm just like really curious, like about what you said, because there's also a lot of people like, oh, like there's an economic downturn coming. And I'm just kind of curious what you see in regards to that.
One of the things I want to mention before I forget, and this is like financial downturn for who?
Yeah. Yeah.
Real talk.
Because this is the part where I understand the news for what it is. I'll pay attention to what's happening because I need to. I'm an adult. I should probably know what's going on, at least bare minimum in the world. But what I can't stand is just when it comes to like, oh, well, it's thing. Like yes, there is a recession. Yes, we are having money issues. Weren't y'all just handing out random dollars when everything was shut? Weren't y'all just like, didn't y'all do all of this stuff? And now Now that there's a backlash because you didn't think about the parameters, now it's suddenly the public's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's not the public's fault. Let's blame the rich instead. The untouchable rich. Okay, now it's the untouchable rich's part. This is one person that's not able to do anything about it. And then they're just upset and they don't get anything from it, right?
Yep.
I think one of the biggest finesses that like media is able to do is just be like, man, we messed that up. Well, let's just do something different over here. Like, let's just change the narrative a little bit. Like, oh yeah, people are losing money. Are the people losing money, or are the rich losing money? Now they gotta pay people that are working now, or like, I know there's obviously depth to it.
Yeah, I know. It's like, how do we have record profits and also quote unquote inflation?
Where it's like, okay, so we're doing so great, but now that is my problem, right? I came across something that I did, I want to say like a year or two ago, but it was a video and I was like, we're still in the age of Pisces. And I truly believe that. And the reason why that's the case is just like age of Pisces is spirituality, right? But it's also deception. It's also illusion. It's also media. Literally, like, media is Pisces and Neptune. And we are all obsessed. I can't go a day without waking up and looking at my phone. That's crazy. Like, just like in the grand scheme of humanity, the fact that we all wake up and we're like, okay, our life starts when we open our phone is crazy to me. The reason why I can't say that we're in the age of Aquarius is because it's not a part of us yet. Like, I'm just to be real. Age of Aquarius, someone looks at their watch, their wrist is the time. Like, that's the age of Aquarius, because that's when Pluto goes into Aquarius. Pluto goes in Aquarius next year, which I think we'll start to really see the first understanding of like people literally being like, no, I'm this is a bio, this is this, that, and the third. We don't have flying cars yet for the public specifically. They have flying cars somewhere. I 100% believe that. But but I think Pluto and Aquarius gets more like to the Jetsons, gets more to like the futuristic outlook. I mean, but I think it's definitely interesting though, like you said, we're having record level buys, but we're all broke. And it's like, what is that? So I think Jupiter and Uranus is putting it kind of back into the hands of the people and what you're able to make of that. You get what I mean? Like, I don't think it's like top down. I think it's down up. And I think that's the shift in the random chaos of it. People aren't going to necessarily want to do the same OBS. And we're already seeing it. We're already seeing it.
Absolutely.
I started a job, I want to say like a week ago, and I walked out like second, third day. And I was like, I can't do this because it just wasn't going to be productive for anyone working there. It wasn't a space that was going to allow people to either be themselves. You could be yourself and still be professional, 100%.
Sure.
And I just had to go, right? And I'm started Gen Z. First year of Gen Z, Pluto and Sag, which is the real Gen Z. But at the same time, a large part of my role is to explain this stuff from someone who really understands it and be like, yo, we can't do that. I'm with people expressing whatever, whoever, however they are. But when you get to a certain point, it's like, we need to stop here. Pluto and Sag can't get carried away, for sure. But they have to, because everyone else was lying to them.
No, it makes a lot of sense, especially considering this is like the biggest, if not the second biggest labor movement in our history. I'm seeing unions popping up left and right for everything, not just your traditional trades, but literally everything.
As they should.
Yes, no, I'm 100%, pro union all day, every day. But it's just wild and makes a lot of sense in that context.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, one more question on 2023. And while I totally hear your spiritual lesson perspective, I also have to ask, what's the tea? What's the drama from 2023? Anything that really stands out there?
Right. So with every transit, the reason why I pointed out the transits that I did is because those are the planets that stay in that area for long, right?
Okay.
Mars is going to still be in Gemini. So let me start there. People have been just talking out their ass. Like, no one knows what they're talking about. And I kind of love it. And that also gives me the lane to kind of make the stuff that I do, ironically, is because I'm just like, well, this was just a random clip of me doing something dumb. And now I talked over it, but now it looks cool. It's cool. Let's go with it. Let's do that. Mars and Gemini also, with the drama part, right? The tea, if you will, of Mars and Gemini. Since no one knows what they're doing, everybody chatting shit. No one's saying anything. Everyone's like, well, it's just a bunch of bad takes. I feel like Mars and Gemini is just like
Yes.
a bunch of people getting together to have bad takes and then fighting anyone that doesn't believe in them. So it's like, what's the point? Like
Yeah.
So that's going to be going on into 2023. That's going to be happening until up to March 25th when Mars goes into Cancer, which will be also interesting because by the time it gets into Cancer, everyone that was just chatting and fighting together are going to kind of build their own. You know what I mean? So it's like the same group of people. Let's say there's 3 people. I'm gonna use 3 people. All right. 3 people. They're talking like, I hate this. I'm going to use shoes again. I hate those person in those shoes. I think that's always hilarious. But I hate those person in those shoes. Yeah, those shoes are ugly. Yeah, those shoes are gross. End of Mars and Gemini, one of them buys the shoes.
Of course.
One of them is like, anyone that wears the shoes, I'll hate forever. And then the other one doesn't even care anymore. So now they're like, wait a second. Y'all got in this weird bond situation by hating on something that one of y'all own. You don't even care no more. You're just here just to be here. You're here for the camaraderie. And the other one's just like, nah, I can't deal with you anymore. So what do? Go split out and make their own things, right?
Huh.
Person that gets the shoes goes to hang out with more people with the shoes. Good for you. Stop yelling at other people about it. The other person goes to like just live a different life, have different interests. And the other person is still just mad about the same thing. And then they go to be around other catty people that are mad about the same thing. So like this is how I do like to explain transits though, because that's the shift, it's the ingress that happens. It's like everyone's going to be on their BS until March, and then March happens and they're like, man, remember my friend from remember my friend from when I was 12 that used to really like this? Yeah, maybe I'll hit them up. Maybe we'll, and they can really build something beautiful off of it, which is the other part.
Okay.
But just the idea that people had to get to that, it's like, oh, so that's part of the T. The other T, at least with the bigger transits that are going on, the other one's going to be Pluto in Aquarius, which happens at the end of Mars and Gemini, ironically, March as well. This is going to be the shift to where it's like, I think the part of the T is a lot of the content creators, like the big content creators, are going to get so hated on. And I don't know how yet or for what yet. I just, there's this really powerful feeling where it's like those people that have been popping since like 2016, 2017, not even on some cancellation, just something to where people are just like, no. And I don't know what that is yet. I haven't looked deep enough into just Pluto and Aquarius specifically isolated for me to like give you like an exact answer. I haven't looked at the specific chart, but the Pluto and Aquarius is the depth to it's a very specific type of influencer because it's like we have to take away the part that makes them celebrity. It's basically the death of celebrity. Like the celebrity idea and concept, I think is going to start to actually die down for the first time, because when people realize that, truthfully, I have met like a handful of like people that are celebrities and stuff like that. Nothing super crazy, super crazy. Like I didn't meet Beyonce yet, so I can't say that. But you know, Drake. I'm gonna use Drake. There we go. We don't like Drake anymore. So let's just use him for an example. So this is like everyone's loved Drake for 10 years, right? And this is just him having a show or a concert and nobody shows up. I packed out arenas my whole career and then like 100 people are there. And everyone's like, what?
Brutal.
Because I think there's once more back to the hands of the people. So because everything's getting back to the hands of the people, it's like, I'm tired of being fed that same old shit. You know, like he's had a formula forever. We've liked his formula. We've even loved his formula at times. But it's like, yo, like, you know, unless he branches out, I think every rapper should stop at a certain point. That's a whole different conversation. But the idea is... And then what's going to be even more interesting is how the people that were popping before take not being admired. Not even liked, admired. Like not having constant admiration. That is what's going to be the most interesting part, I think. Because it's like, okay, what you going to do now? You went from a million things every time you posted something, and now 10 people show up. Now you're looking like the rest of us. How you feel? And they're like, oh, we can't, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what's going to show a lot of true colors of people, for sure.
That is some tea.
A little more tea for you.
That is fascinating. That is really fascinating.
You. Pluto does leave Aquarius for a little bit. So Pluto's going back into Capricorn after being again in Aquarius, right? These are both Saturn ruled signs. So we're still going to feel the pressure of Pluto. But Pluto going into Capricorn was like the destruction of how we view everything. So that was when everything was shut down. The government exposing themselves. The people that expose themselves. The politicians that expose themselves. The financial reports that expose themselves. Pluto in Aquarius is like, okay, back to the hands of the people. But honestly, that Pluto retrograde in the Cap is like, they're trying to make a comeback. So then it's like, okay, and I really hope they don't do this, but it's like, okay, you have your own business, cool. We're going to add a little extra tax because y'all making mad money. And it's like, whoa. Like there's going to be an attempt for more regulation. And then as soon as it gets back again into Aquarius, it's going to be like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that now. I definitely think that it's a rise of the people, just the real people that are genuine into this experience are going to start to be able to like have more of a hand in things for sure. I definitely feel that.
That is an incredible message of hope to leave us on. I think.
The tea.
Agreed. What do you suggest that people do to kind of get their house in order? You know, what should people kind of be aware of as this year closes out?
Highly recommend people define what they're afraid of. So like for the 2023, it's not what you're afraid of. It's what you triumphed over. Pick a struggle, move through that struggle. And when the next one shows up, you won't be as scared to like own it, right? Big on the healing and hey, this is where we actually at. And then the rest of 2023, you get to put that and implement it. Because Capricorn season, honestly, which is like why I mentioned 2023 the way I do. Capricorn season, that New Year's time frame, New Year's is just a Capricorn holiday. Happy New Year. You want to know why? New Year's resolutions. It's the most Capricorn shit ever. New Year's resolution, and people actually, the ones that really stick with those, you just did a Capricorn season remediation. You just did some solstice work. That's all you did.
Thanks, Chad, for taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, of course.
Your insights are super interesting, and I can't wait to see what plays out in 2023.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to be covering basically everything. I have decided. I'll be up there.
Where can our listeners find you? And also, where can they get a reading?
Well, social media is going to be Chad the Maverick across the board. Instagram, TikTok, and readings are also going to be on the website, chadthemaverick.com. Hella hyped to see y'all when y'all do, because it's going to be a fun time.
Well, thank you for your time today. This was so awesome. And I have like a couple of tools in my little backpack as I'm going into 2023. So appreciate that.
Much love. Appreciate y'all having me.
That's it for our show today, listeners. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you can find and follow The Outerknown on any platform where you get podcasts. Keep the conversation going by joining us on social media. We are at OuterknownPod on Instagram and Twitter. Our home for all things Outerknown is our website, outerknownpod.com. Today's episode was edited by Lane Collins and produced by Lane Collins and Jackie Peterson. Our theme music is by the ever-talented Smoke Benito, and our cover artwork is by Eric Centeno. Until next time, blessed be.